Hi, everybody. Welcome in today as we are with the Bowie Bay Sox broadcaster, Adam Pohl. And today and in a couple days, two-part series here, big event at MASNsports.com. Adam, we invited you in because you have been the broadcaster of the last two Oriole affiliates to win league championships. Today, we're going to focus on the 2011 Frederick Keys, and later in a couple days, we'll talk about the 2015 Bowie Bay Sox. Those are the last two champions. And in fact, you broadcast the last three, 2007 Keys as well. You did the Keys from 07 through 2013. And I know Oriole fans know you've been with the Bay Sox since 2014. So you've seen a lot of prospects, and in these two cases, a lot of winning. And Adam, the 2011 team, obviously what jumps out is two teenagers, Jonathan Schoop, Manny Machado. They were on their way to becoming fast friends and quality major leaguers. This was very early in that process, but yet already then they were pretty marked men. And interestingly enough, Adam, as you well know, they didn't light it up in Frederick, but by the end of the year, it looked like they were lighting it up in Frederick.
It's a good point. When you look at their numbers, and thanks for having me, Steve, that, Schoop and Mancini, they were just so young. Or Schoop and Machado, I should say. Manny Machado was 18 years old when he came to Frederick. He turned 19 when he was with the Keys, but that's unbelievable. And Jonathan Schoop was also a teenager when he first debuted. I think Schoop came up late 2010, and we had his name wrong for a few days. We thought his name was Shoop. But it was like, no, it's not the salt and pepper song, it's the mouthwash, so it took a little bit of time to get accustomed. But the thing that stood out immediately was their impeccable defense. Schoop was the best, and still is the best, double play turn I've ever had as a part of my team. He was so quick at making that turn. It was spectacular. And Manny Machado obviously was, especially for a single A ball player, just an unbelievable shortstop. I remember one night he made a play where he charged and he threw it off the wrong foot. And they asked him after the game. I was in the clubhouse with our manager, Orlando Gomez, and he said, "How did you learn how to do that?" And Manny said, "Oh, in high school, I watched Jeter, and that was a Derek Jeter play," and basically said that he was just out trying to practice and learn how to do that. So, Manny was spectacular defender. And the crazy thing is that our third baseman was a former double-A shortstop the year before that really couldn't hit, Dale Molenauer. And I feel bad saying he couldn't hit, but he was a 220, 230 double-A hitter. So you got a double-A shortstop playing third. The infield was spectacular defensively.
Just 8 teams in the Carolina League that year, so you saw everybody a lot. Frederick beat Potomac 3-2 in a best-of-5 round 1. Championship series, the Mills Cup Finals, 3-1 over Kinston, losing game 1 and then winning 3 in a row. And it was one on the road, Adam, which was very different. We'll talk about 2015 in our next video, but very different than when the Bay Sox celebrated with their fans. Sure. Here you guys are in Kinston, North Carolina.
It's more than that, Steve, because that series was just rain ridden. So Kinston wins game 1, a low scoring game, but game 2 was the game that won the Keys the championship, really. And the game started at almost 11 p.m. at home. So there was almost nobody in the crowd. And here is Frederick down by a run in the 8th inning. And this is the biggest play Manny Machado ever did in the Orioles organization, in the minor leagues, obviously, for Frederick, in winning this title. So he gets on base, and the Keys are down 1 in the 8th inning of game 2. And cleanup hitter Aaron Baker, you remember this name, Steve? Mm-hmm. It's a long fly out to center, and Machado on a fly ball to center tags and gets second. That was the second out of the inning, right? So by him tagging and getting second, he put him in a great spot, put him in scoring position. Miguel Abreu singles, Machado scores, the throw comes home. Abreu goes to second. The next guy up, Brian Ward singles, Abreu scores, and the Keys end up winning that game by a run. We went to Kinston, stayed in the worst hotel I've ever been in my life overnight because they couldn't get their regular hotel for the first night. And blew him out in game 3. And then in game 4, it was the same thing, but in a different way. Machado hit a 3-run homer to end an 11-run third inning, 11 runs. And then we had a
Right.
1-hour rain delay in the fourth. So the Keys had basically won the title. I mean, they're up 11-0 and there's an hour rain delay, a sellout crowd, and Kinston completely leaves. And the final out was recorded right around midnight in front of about 45 people.
Wow, what a strange series. So much rain. Now, a lot of great names here, and we don't have time to go through all this list, but I just want to roll down a bunch of names.
Yes.
I mean, Bobby Bundy was an excellent pitcher on that team. Dylan's older brother was with Bowie, though, at the end of the year, not in the playoffs. Jake Pettit had a great run for that team, 7-0, 162. Brian Ward catching, was throwing everybody out. Buck Britton was on that team for 25 games, and he hit 341. I went and looked up the stats.
He was pretty good.
Steve Bumbry, Kip Schutz, Miguel Abreu. These are great names. Oliver Drake.
Well, Steve, let me
Joe
tell you
Mahoney
a thing
for just
about,
a hand.
real quick about the starters. It was really interesting. You know, the worry at the end of the year in July, Bobby Bundy and Oliver Drake were the top 2 starters. They got promoted to Bowie. So the worry was that the team was going to fall off because it was playing well before Machado and Scope even got there. And we end up bringing up this guy with a 6 ERA. We got Jake Pettit up, and he was pitching great. And then we got Scott Copeland, right? Copeland ended up pitching in the bigs. He had a 6 ERA in Delmarva, but he was a sinker balling pitcher. Go back to that ground ball, right? That great infield defense. He had a 2 ERA in Frederick. So I interview him. I say, Scott, you know, what's different from Delmarva, Frederick? How are you doing so much better? And he said, to be honest, nothing's different. I'm just getting ground balls, but every ground ball's an out here. And it was a base hit there. And it's amazing. So next year he had a 6 ERA back in Frederick, and he got released, and then the Blue Jays picked him up and he reached the bigs. But that infield defense was one for the ages.
There were guys who played in the major leagues, and some of these names got a cup of coffee. I mean, they were there for a game or a few of at bats. Right. You know, Joe Mahoney, a very short time. Brian Mattis must have made a rehab start. He pitched a couple innings for the team. Jason Gurka, Kyle Hudson, LJ Hose, Asher Tolliver. You mentioned Copeland. Some fun names that Oriole fans of going back a few years will remember. Orlando Gomez, a guy we both like and respect so much, was the manager of that team, and he must have set a great tone.
Oh my goodness, he really did. You know, one time that year he got really upset, and I walked in and there were things everywhere. You know, he'd obviously like thrown things around the clubhouse, and I go in and he just smiles at me and goes, "Hurricane Orlando visited tonight." He was, I mean, just the best guy, almost like a grandfatherly figure for me personally. And, you know, all in all, it was great to have Orlando with these young Latin prospects. I don't know Manny Machado is an American player, but obviously from Miami, it was a very steadying presence to have somebody that had almost 50 years in the game be the manager of that team. It was an enormous factor in the team winning it all.
Well, watching that team play at the end of the year, that's what the minor leagues is about. You're watching these young kids, Scope and Machado, and you're dreaming of a day when they win in the postseason in Baltimore. And they came close.
They did.
And so this came to pass. They came to Baltimore. They thrived as players. They won. They were in the postseason. So, I mean, that's what you want. And in 2011, we got to see the very beginnings of that when the Frederick Keys won the championship. It was very, very cool. Adam, thanks for a great trip down memory lane. What a wonderful memory. Frederick wins it all in 2011.
Thank you so much, Steve.